Over the years, many rappers have been exposed for using ghostwriters, but there have also been some very serious accusations made against some of the best lyricists in rap. And if they are true, it could severely impact these artists' credibility as lyricists. So join me today as we look into 5 rappers who were accused of using ghostwriters, starting off with Nas. First though, I think it's a little important to briefly explain what a ghostwriter is because people tend to get it pretty mixed up. I've covered this before in a video called The Dark Reality About Ghostwriting, so feel free to check that whole thing out after this if you're interested. But to sum up what a ghostwriter is, we gotta make sure we don't get it confused with an actual writer. Like Joey Badass writing on Rockstar by Post Malone. He isn't a ghostwriter just because he's credited and wrote some of the song. Even Quentin Miller writing for Drake was questionable because he was sneakily credited. I don't know if sneakily is a word, but now it is. But this wasn't completely ghostwriting, as Quentin Miller was discreetly credited throughout the album. Also, for clarification, sometimes there can be people credited as writers if a song was sampled. Basically, I'm just trying to explain that it isn't uncommon for people to be credited as a writer on a rap song, and it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, imagine you're in the studio with some rapper friends and you're bouncing ideas off one another. They can be credited too, but using a ghostwriter in rap is a big no-no for many reasons. A lot of artists pride themselves and are respected by their fans for being lyricists, like Kendrick Lamar for example. Using a ghostwriter is quite deceitful, and if it came out that Kendrick was using a ghostwriter, he would definitely suffer from a lack of credibility going forward. So this is why using ghostwriters as a rapper is usually viewed as a bad thing, which is why when Nas, one of the greatest rappers of all time, was accused of using writers, it was extremely controversial. Nas is regarded as one of the best lyricists of all time and one of the most influential rappers in the game. He even specifically mentioned influencing and keeping into contact with Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole, which after recent events is a little bit funny. Nas also dropped what some say is the greatest rap album of all time, which inspired a ton of other successful projects in the genre. I mean, the songs The World Is Yours and New York State of Mind have been sampled hundreds of times. This is why when the accusation of ghostwriting came about, it was taken very seriously. Some people even compare it to athletes taking drugs in the Olympics. How can you trust their skill ever again? Who knows what was ghostwritten and what hasn't been? Which is why to many fans it would be heartbreaking if these allegations were true. It all started when music journalist Dream Hampton became wrapped up in the controversy in a reply on Twitter. Is Jay-Z really that concerned with losing money that he can't just say "fuck my image" and make an Untitled like Nas? This was referring to Nas's album Untitled, which was originally going to be called the N-word, just so if you guys see that word in tweets, you know what it's referring to. Dream Hampton replied saying, "I think Jay writes what he believes. Nas's Untitled album was largely written by Stic of Dead Prez and Jay Electronica." Following this bombshell, Hot 97 employee FMWJ wrote an article in which he claimed, "The day Jay Electronica called me at work to tell me he was ghostwriting for Nas was a hard day for me. I was happy for Jay Elec, but he basically speared a childhood music hero and made a sock puppet out of him." As a part of this claim, he specifically addresses the song Queens Get the Money, which Jay allegedly is said to have written. After FMWJ's claim, Dream added on top of the claim saying, "At FMWJ, you only got a phone call. I heard reference tapes for like 6 songs. I shed thug tears too. He's a Virgo and one of my faves." So basically, Dream is saying that 6 songs on his album Untitled were written by Stickman and Jay Electronica. Looking at the credits on Genius, Stickman is credited as a writer on songs he produced, but Jay Electronica is only credited on Queens Get the Money as a writer. This information was obviously super controversial, which led to Stickman making a statement on Facebook where he said, "As far as the rumors about myself and Jay Electronica ghostwriting for Nas, let me say this. Nas is one of the, if not the most prolific original lyricist to ever do it. My contributions to his album was a collaboration and an honor, and under his direction of what he wanted to convey and say. Haters can't discredit that man's genius. Nas is the Don." Jay followed up with Stick's counter to Dream's claims by saying on Twitter, "Nas is one of the greatest ever. Never has and never will need a ghostwriter. That man's pen and legacy is without question." And while Nas has not commented on the accusations directly, within a few weeks of the controversy, he was interviewed by Big Boy, who asked him about the recent drama.
Man, Nas, I gotta ask you this. Now, we talking about Nas, the pen, so on and so forth, and I don't know if this is disrespectful to you, man. Have you ever used a ghostwriter?
No.
Damn.
Dude, you know who's my ghostwriters? My friends, people I meet on the street, things I read. I hear people say something and I get something from that. I could just be having a conversation with people I just met that evening. Somebody will say something that sparks something in me, so I get it from everybody.
So Nas denied ever using ghostwriters, and said at most he is just inspired by the world around him like any other great lyricist. Nas did admit one time though that there was some assistance in writing, or at least editing, on his best piece, Illmatic, from his mentor slash friend slash fellow rapper, Big Professor. He helped me because I only knew half of what was going on, said Nas to Mass Appeal back in 2002. I knew about the pen touching the paper. Paul knew that too, but he also knew to tell me, don't say this, take that out. Why would you say this? That makes you look crazy. This word don't make no sense. He taught me everything. Throughout this whole controversy, most of his fans actually had his back the whole time, which is understandable as he's one of the greats. There were even multiple articles written in Nas's favor defending him. All of this talk eventually led to Nas being accused again years later of using a ghostwriter on King's Disease 2, more specifically on the song The Pressure. And who was the accused ghostwriter? Well, it was no other than Quentin Miller, who was also tied to the popular Drake ghostwriting controversy. It all started when in an interview, Quentin was asked about who he has written for, in which he gave a few names.
I done work with Nas, Big Sean, Jeezy, a bunch of other people, Jeremiah, Ty Dolla $ign, like a bunch of other people.
This led to an investigation of Nas's credits where Miller was found in the writer's section. All of the talk forced Quentin to respond, saying on Instagram where he said,
apparently this whole Quentin work with Nas conversation is going a little more viral than what I thought, because now, you know, people are reaching out to me, asking me to clear it up. I have to clear up the fact that I worked with Nas. So, okay. And, you know, off the strength, you know, I want to shout out to Hit Boy, you know, for the opportunity that he gave me when he invited me to the studio and allowed me to work with Nas.
If you're wondering why he was yelling, he went on this whole rant about being a writer and how it works. And honestly, I feel bad for Quentin because most people view him not as a rapper, but as a ghostwriter. When in reality, he just seems like a genuine dude trying to make some money off his raps. And honestly, I'd like to make a whole video on him. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, Quentin said he just worked with Nas on one song, and he was credited, so it wasn't much of a ghostwriter situation. He later clarified in an interview with Vlad TV that Nas's camp asked him to clear it up, which added to his frustration.
I was hit by people from the circle to clear it up, and that was just so frustrating. Like, why do I have to clear it up? Like, what do I clear up? What does that even mean, clear it up? Does that mean to say that I didn't work with Nas? But I did work with Nas. I literally was in the room with Hit Boy and Nas. It was just us three. We worked. I didn't say, oh, I wrote all of this. I didn't say none of that shit. I just said I worked with Nas, which is a fucking honor.
It seems most of the problem revolves around fans building up these images of their favorite artists as if they do all of their work independently, when in reality, almost every great artist has had help or influence in some form or another. As you'll see in this video, people can take the ghostwriter thing a bit too far, and clearly they haven't watched my video on it because not everyone seems to understand it. Thankfully though, in Nas's case, most of his fans stuck by his side throughout the controversy. Drake is a rapper that needs little to no introduction. Regardless of beefs or ups and downs, he has undeniably been at the top of the game for a long time. Part of these ups and downs for Drake have included allegations of using ghostwriters on some of his biggest hits. While Drizzy is not even close to the only rapper that's been accused of having help with writing, he is one of the more talked about cases. And no, I will not be talking about the Quentin Miller and Meek Mill situation, since most people probably know that by now. If you don't, it was like 6 years ago. That was almost 10 years ago actually, that's crazy. Anyways, there are a few other songs though that people have recently accused Drake of having ghostwriters on, so let's check it out. Following his beef with Kendrick, everyone started digging up dirt on Drake, especially since Kendrick was calling him out for using writers, which fans decided to investigate. The first instance under review is Drake's hit song Mob Ties, which was allegedly ghostwritten by Vory, a rapper who also does a lot of work in writing collaborations. Drake has been clowned on for working with Quentin Miller for a long time, even recently in the Kendrick beef, so when more accusations came out, it was pretty rough. On Mob Ties, there are multiple credited writers, with one of them even being Vory. So Vory was credited, but obviously it wasn't publicized. And while he wasn't technically ghostwriting, a reference track was leaked in which Vory damn near made the entire song. While reference tracks are commonly used in the music industry to achieve a desired sound, it's hard to ignore the comparisons. I'll link it below so you guys can check it out because I can't play it, but if you don't want to check it out, it basically sounds like Drake just copied his homework and changed a few words. It is almost the exact same song. Of course, this led to a lot of criticism of Drake. On a Twitch stream, Drake's biggest fan, DJ Academics, claimed Vory had no involvement with the song. After looking up and confirming confirming he was credited, Axe still decided to double down, saying Vory did not write anything.
Okay, he is credited, but he ain't write nothing, nigga.
How do you know that, nigga?
How he ain't write that, nigga?
Bro.
Yo, this nigga is crazy.
Bro,
He
first of
probably
all,
wrote the hook.
nigga, I'm gonna tell you why I know he ain't write shit for Drake, right? Cause most of this shit was almost like, bruh, this shit was almost like a Toronto nigga spitting, bruh.
To be fair though, Ack eventually put his bias aside and came around to the truth.
I felt that was Drake with his back against the wall, and I was like, yo, Drake, if he ain't right, it felt away. Like, cause I spent all night looking for it. Like, apparently there was a snippet. They said Vory wrote it.
It is important to consider though that Drake and Vory have not commented on this subject, and there is speculation that the reference could be AI or something else. However, the second track Drake was accused of having ghostwritten was Back to Back, and they were saying it was written by daylyt. Around the time of the song's release, Drake spent a lot of time in the battle rap scene, specifically close to daylyt. Years later, after Drake's meteoric rise, daylyt began pushing the narrative of how much he has helped Drake write and how little he has been noticed or rewarded for doing so. This could be seen in the 2016 and 2018 diss tracks Cat's Out the Bag and Light Skin, which were released by daylyt, where he speaks on getting no love from Drake even though he allegedly helped him reach platinum status. In Cat's Out the Bag, he says, "Help him write back to back, but what money did you provide? Drake, Joe, who should I ride for? Who did I write for? The newest will ride for." Reference verse, "I'm telling Drizzy pay me for the track. That uncharged shit was my shit. He know I wrote every word of that. Drizzy say he gonna cut me that check for Body and Meek too. If I'm creating these bodies he body, what I'ma speak to? I've been quiet for too long, and I've been crying for too long. I've been dying for too long, I'm getting tired." In Light Skin, which opens up with the audio of Drake discussing the promising future of daylyt, he says, "I sat up nights writing, don't get the credit I deserve. I'm the one sending references, I'm who edit them words. I don't ask to be credited, I just check for the debit deposit. Observe while you sit and observe. I just service for all them platinum hits in the live jam. You know, Let There Be Light was God's plan, you'd think I'd jot with God's hands. I was being a handyman, hamburger helper for the logo, jumped in the Meek beef just for the promo." So basically daylyt was saying he was promised payment and promo for writing Drake songs and making reference tracks, but he didn't get anything. Now these tracks came out in 2016 and 2018, so why are they being brought up today? Well, in the Drake and Kendrick beef, Kendrick brought this up. In Kendrick's diss Like That, he states, "Your best work is a light pack." In Euphoria, he says, "Back to Back, I like that record. I'ma get back to that for the record." Much of this is speculation and hard to make certain, which led to DJ Head attempting to disprove the theory by saying outright that daylyt did not write Back to Back. He claims him and daylyt talk often and that daylyt never put it out there that he wrote the song, which kind of isn't true as he pretty much said it on the first song that I talked about. Instead, DJ Head explains that daylyt was speaking in vague terms and it was the fans that drew the alleged untrue conclusions. The issue with fans claiming daylyt wrote this song and DJ Head saying he didn't is that there is no evidence from either side. But of course, it is in the realm of possibility and neither of them have addressed it at all. Since Drake is viewed more as a pop artist, people don't care as much about these allegations. But when it comes to songs like Back to Back, where Drake is spitting in a rap battle, it's a bit more scathing to hear that he may not have written the song. And based on previous situations Drake has been in, it is definitely possible that daylyt had helped him out. Neither Drake or daylyt have commented on these accusations, but ghostwriters are often required to sign NDAs, so maybe that's why daylyt hasn't said anything directly. Lil Wayne is a Grammy Award-winning artist with a list of bangers that date back over 20 years, and since then he has kept a spot at the top or near the top for just as long, and a lot of people really like his lyricism for his catchy and iconic bars. So when he got hit with a ghostwriter accusation, a lot of fans were concerned. This allegation was about his extremely successful album The Carter, and Gillie the Kid claimed to have written on it. In 2003, Gillie first had a falling out over disagreements with Cash Money, Wayne's label, that led to him and Wayne not speaking for quite some time. Gillie explained the origins of the ordeal in a Hip Hop DX interview in 2006 by saying, "I penned a lot of that shit. They had me around there. Stunna gave me $200,000 when I was signed. They were in such a rush to get me into a deal, they didn't do the publishing rights there on the spot. They just wanted to get me ink. Soon as they got me ink, then they wanted to discuss the publishing. Once they didn't want to give me the money I was asking for, then I knew it was a problem. I had talks and sit downs with Wayne, but he didn't even know what publishing was. So I started seeing what was really going on around here." Gillie also explained in the interview why he left Cash Money, saying, "'Cause Stunna's a rotten motherfucker and he don't pay his people. It was never really a money issue with me. It was more of just Stunna didn't really want me to shine. He wanted me to play more in the background and get checks like that. So I did that for as long as I needed to and got out of it." When asked which songs he wrote on The Carter, Gillie said, "Pretty much all of them. And when asked how much he was paid per track, he said, "It wasn't really no certain amount, you know what I'm saying, but I was getting 15 to 20 stacks a track." What prompted even more problems in the beef is when Gillie was asked if he thought he was better than Wayne, and his response was, "I mean, that's kind of like a trick question. It ain't even no comparison. You can't even compare me to Wayne because I do so much more than Shorty. I got so many styles, so many forms and patterns that I could hit you with. Shorty don't really got that." Gillie also said, "He's a fraud. I never was really with bringing none of this shit to light, except for when he dissed me. He got a record where he say my name and that I don't want it. That he gonna do this and gonna do that. So I called and reached out to him. He didn't even reach back to me, you feel what I'm saying? So I felt disrespected. So I felt like fuck you. The whole time I was with Cash Money, I ain't did nothing but try to help you. Now you want to take a cheap shot at me?" Gillie said this because on the 2006 track Problem Solver, Lil Wayne was dissing Gillie with lines like, "Gillie man, I don't think you should really f with me. The gun off me, urgently working and twerking it perfectly." In response to the accusation, Wayne's people explained he used no ghostwriters in the creation of the Carter, and actually said that Wayne himself assisted in ghostwriting for a lot of artists in the industry. Keep in mind this was all going down in the early to mid 2000s, and it continued on for a little while. In 2007, Wayne took 2 shots at Gillie saying, "I'm a shark in the water, yep I swim with the big, so I don't have time to deal with Willie the Squid. And I advance my flow and they must like that. They like it so much they say they write that. Barking at the dog but I don't bite back. I ain't CPR, I ain't bringing their life back." They continued beefing for a little bit, but then it fizzled out. Years later, however, in 2020, Gillie went on Drink Champs and touched on it again.
I done spoke on that shit so many times,
Right.
Nori.
Just not on this platform. That's the reason we want to get this out the way.
Well, if you Google it, Stunner said that out his mouth. Well, he wrote some things for the company, but he didn't get paid what he got paid. So that was gratifying enough.
During one of Whack 100's Clubhouse sessions, Birdman joined and spoke on Gillie's ghostwriting claims, saying, "I never put a record out with Gillie. I ain't never made $1 off Gillie when he be running around with all that capping. I ain't never made no money off you. Stop all that cap-ass talking. You not like that." And he for sure ain't never wrote one rhyme for Moolah. Gillie saw the statement in an academic's repost of the clip and commented 25 years later with some laughing emojis. Following all of this, most recently the two ran into each other at a JSU football game, but Gillie claims Wayne ran away after a quick handshake paired with a brief conversation and avoided the confrontation entirely. But a clip of the encounter surfaced from one of Wayne's associates, Mac Main, and it showed that the situation did not go down quite how Gillie described it. After this recent incident, there have been no developments in the beef. There's no hard evidence that exists proving either side right or wrong, so in the long run, the accusation did not have much negative impact on either of their careers. Instead, it goes down as another case of he said, she said, although I will say fans would probably be devastated if it ever came out that Wayne actually had ghostwriters on the Carter. We all know Baby Keem, right? He's a rapper and producer who's gone viral lately. He's also Kendrick Lamar's cousin who he's collaborated with frequently, and he's also made some bangers like Orange Soda, Trademark USA, and Stats. While the two both have very unique styles, people have compared some of their sounds, which should come as no surprise as Kendrick helped mentor Keem in his music career. But the overlap fans noticed eventually turned into accusations of ghostwriting. Fans and critics alike debated on who was writing for who, some saying Keem for Kendrick and others saying Kendrick for Keem. Even recently in the Kendrick versus Drake beef, Drake took a shot at Kendrick in the diss track Family Matters, saying K-Dot shit is only hitting hard when Baby Keem put his pen to it. To be fair to Drake, Baby Keem is credited as a writer on a handful of Lamar's songs, for example N95, which many say could be due to his ad-libs on the song or just his general creative input overall. But this diss also led to some memes about how Keem was just a kid making Minecraft videos when Kendrick was putting out his classic albums. I mean, the top comment on this post is literally, "This line was such a reach, it's so obviously the other way around if anything." This line ended up turning on Drake because he's literally on this list and has been in the rappers who use ghostwriters conversation forever. And this is where the accusations flip. The main reason for the uproar stems from a shocking leak which included reference tracks recorded by Kendrick for J-Rock's King's Dead, Khaled's The Ways, Baby Keem's So What, Bullies, and 16. On one of the files for Bullies, a timestamp even shows a February date which was months before Keem's July release of the song in 2019. The leaker also said that he found the tracks through someone in the TDE camp that has been selling the songs to multiple people, which is why the guy decided to leak them. To most fans, the craziest part is learning that Kendrick has allegedly wrote for people like J-Rock, because despite them being on the same label, people figured his lyrical ability was, his own. And when looking further into the credits on Spotify for any of the Baby Keem songs mentioned, Kendrick Lamar is was not listed as a writer. For a lot of fans, this doesn't seem too surprising, as you know, they're cousins and they probably work together a lot, and Kendrick has clearly mentored baby Keem, so some already assumed that the support was already there. Some people though pointed to Kendrick's views on the use of ghostwriters in a 2017 Rolling Stone interview where he said, "It depends on what arena you're putting yourself in. I call myself the best rapper. I cannot call myself the best rapper if I have a ghostwriter. If you're saying you're a different type of artist and you don't really care about the art form of being the best rapper, then so be it. Make great music. But the title, it won't be there." However, I think most of us, including baby Keem himself, know he's not calling himself the best rapper ever, so most people didn't take this too seriously. It's all pretty funny how things ended up shaking out with this accusation, because it started with Drake saying Keem carries Kendrick, which only led to the leaks being resurfaced, receiving major attention, and coming pretty close to confirming the opposite to be true. Although if you're truly tapped in like myself, you've already heard the baby Keem leaks long before Drake brought it up. As of now though, neither Keem or Kendrick have commented on these leaks, as the accusations honestly have not really upset fans at all. I don't think too many people are looking at baby Keem like he's Nas or Lil Wayne. So let me know in the comments if you think any of these people actually use ghostwriters, if you think any of the accusations are true, and if you think any of the accusations matter. Anyways though, thank you guys for watching. I've been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.